And we are back with another episode of Work Sucks, the podcast which delves into the career and life of an unsuspecting individual about their worst moments of work, where we highlight that your job might not be as bad as theirs. And yeah, we just hear about all the crappy stuff that they've been through. This is a very weird episode, so I'm going to just throw to Callie and say hi, Callie, and then I'll introduce this week's guest, because I've never interviewed a member of my family before. So, Callie, hello, how you doing, my friend?
Hello, I'm good. I'm so excited that your family is up for this because mine would not be.
Yeah, I don't know if I am excited. That one of out of all the people who are in my family, there is only one person that would put themselves forward for this. And he put himself forward for it. I didn't say, can you be on the podcast? Far from me asking my second oldest brother to be on a podcast. He wanted to be on it. He's seen it. He's a big fan of ours. And so in season 2, it is my hesitant pleasure to introduce one Joseph Kheng to the episode. Joe, how you doing?
Hello, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be the first or second Kheng on the podcast. I look forward to it.
Why did you want to do it?
Yeah, why?
I just feel like sometimes some of the guests like get their way with Toby. You know, he needs someone to kind of put him back in line a little bit, and I feel like I could do that.
I think I'm going to be.
We'll have some fun with it.
I think I'm doing this kind of stress headache thing now, and I think I'm just going to be doing it quite a lot because I'm very rarely on this podcast do I feel like it's going to be out of control. But this episode, I genuinely feel
it's got potential.
It's got potential. Joe, where in the world are you based?
I am in Bangkok, Thailand. So it's currently 10 p.m. in the evening at the moment over here. And I have been based in Bangkok for over 12 years now, which is quite a while. So I left.
Oh, quite a while.
Yeah, basically. So I left the UK in January 2014. So I've been over here for the majority of that time, and I spent 1 year living in Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, somewhere in the middle of that. But yeah, the majority of the time's been in Bangkok city centre. So yeah, love it.
So we've had.
You've been?
I've been. I've had a great time in Bangkok. A hell of a 48 hours. Can't really remember what happened. But less of that. Let's move on, Callie. We've had stories from the States. We've had stories from the UK. We've not had anyone whose career has been out of those two areas. So this is truly now we're going into uncharted territory because Joe doesn't work in HR or any kind of people profession. Far from it when we dive into what he does throughout the episode. But also is based in a country and a culture that we probably have very little understanding of. So that's going to be quite interesting. What do you think, Callie? You excited?
I'm super excited. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive into it and let's get straight into the questions. What's our first question that we ask?
Yeah, so we've got to start right at the beginning. Tell us about your worst interview experience.
I will tell you about my worst interview experience. Unfortunately, it's not a Thailand story. So it's a UK story. It's Lincoln, our home city, or my home city anyway, of Lincoln in the UK. And I'll happily call out the company name as well. It's Evans Halshaw in Lincoln. I don't know if you can remember this, Toby, or not, but this is probably actually the main reason why I ended up moving to Thailand was because I was so fed up with England, and I think this is what pushed me over the edge. So basically, it was commercial van sales was the job essentially, and it was just around the corner from where I was living. So I was like, this is nice and convenient. You know, it came with a company car. It came with all these nice benefits. And at the time, I was 18, 19 years old. So I was like, okay, we'll go for this, see how this goes. And there and then in the interview, they offered me the job. So I was like, oh, perfect, nailed it, great stuff. Get home. I sell my car that I had to my younger brother. So I sold it to Kai. I sold the car to him. And basically, I just planned for this whole job, left my current job, just did the whole thing because I was so they basically said, look, the contract will be in the post. You'll get it in the next couple of days. You can start in a couple of weeks. I was like, amazing. So I just like changed all of these things in my life, expecting this to happen. Then this contract never came back. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? And because they were like literally 200 meters down the road from me, I just went round after a week and I was like, what's going on? I haven't got the contract through. Maybe it's easy for me to just come pick it up. And they're like, oh no, we decided to go in a different direction. And I was like, you what? I was like, I've sold my car. I was like, you can't do this to me. So, yeah, I don't know what that guy's name was. I tried to delete him out of my memory, to be honest, but we'll call him Dave. He looked like a Dave. And then, yeah, I was kind of like furious about the whole situation, but there's not a lot you can do. I definitely wasn't going to then get the job, I don't think. So, yeah, just called it quits. And then coincidentally, a couple of weeks later, I kind of got offered the position to move over to Thailand. And yeah, I didn't have a car and I didn't have a job. So it worked out pretty well. But yeah, it was all his fault. If I'd have taken that job, I don't think I'd have ever moved over here. So yeah, sliding doors moment for sure.
I love the 18-ness of it, of just being like, well, I got this job. I'm just going to sell my car and quit my job.
There's a theme throughout a lot of these stories, which is just me making terrible spontaneous decisions.
Yeah, I think in every other podcast that we've done, it's generally been the person we're interviewing, it's someone else that was the problem. I can guarantee you, having known Joe for what seems like a long that he will have been the problem in most of these situations. And
yeah,
that's
probably.
It's going to be pretty unique.
In fact, most of them have a caveat. Most of my stories have a caveat saying, actually, this was my fault.
So
in this case,
you can name the companies and you can name all the people because it's not their problem, it was yours. So this is where, we won't get any lawsuits.
Oh, no, I think that was definitely like his fault. I can remember he just definitely said, you've got the job, we'll send the contract to you in the next couple of days. Like, he was pretty convinced by it. What I imagine happened was that he said this, he was just a bit of a yes man, I think he said it to probably quite a few people, and then kind of didn't want to face saying no to someone in person, so just went and said yes and then thought, we'll deal with this afterwards, sort of situation. So yeah, not a lot you can do about it at that point, really. But in terms of other interviews, I've probably given some pretty terrible interviews in terms of being in Asia. So I was managing a sales team over in Vietnam. That was in property marketing. And that was starting the office up from fresh pretty much. So had to hire a whole sales team. But there's a massive language barrier especially when you're doing sales, because none of those guys are going to be selling in English. They'll be selling in Vietnamese. So to do an interview with essentially a translator in the room, it's just a nightmare because you've got no idea what's going out, because the translator might just really like the person and it's just like, yeah, they're answering like really good answers. I'm like, oh, great, okay. And then you get them in the office and you're like, this person has no idea what they're doing. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, they were my friends. So I just kind of gave you the answers you wanted to hear from them. I'm like, that's not how this works. You can't do the interview for them.
Translator does.
Yeah, exactly, right. So yeah, that was a nightmare. That was a complete nightmare. The whole interview process there was just dreadful because it was mainly just a language gap. I wasn't going to learn Vietnamese in a week, that's for sure. So you have some real issue. I think that's a general issue that you have overseas in kind of general, is that there's so many different cultures and the way that people perceive different things when you're speaking to them. So like the British, for example, extremely sarcastic, right? We are just 90% of the time we're saying something sarcastic. It's look at Toby holding in his laugh. So it's when you're over here, that kind of sarcasm just doesn't translate whatsoever. Like, even though it doesn't translate in America, in Asia, it like definitely doesn't, and they just take massive offense to a lot of things that are said. And yeah, I've definitely been called into a few HR managers' offices, and it's like, you can't say this. I'm like, well, that was sarcasm. That wasn't being offensive. It was very different. So yeah, I think there's a lot of lost in translation.
Callie has witnessed sarcasm falling flat on its face, I think, firsthand, as I've hosted a couple of events out in Minnesota and Wisconsin, where Callie kind of, would have taken me one side and go, I probably wouldn't say that next time if I were you. So yeah, if it's bad with the kind of the UK American one, I can't imagine adding language in there as well must just like double down on the issue.
But I think it's also like, it's language is in spoken language, but then also written language, because like when I do internal emails, especially, they're pretty blunt. Like we all know each other. It's a time-saving exercise. I'm not gonna ask you how your weekend was and how your kids are. Like I've seen you 10 minutes ago, you know. So most of my emails are like pretty blunt and to the point. And then that's again one that gets lost in translation. Like, why is he so rude? Why is he so short with me? I'm like, you asked me a yes/no question. I answered with a yes or a no. You know what I mean? And it's like that's something that definitely gets lost here because they like a long, wordy, lengthy email, which I get. It's useful at some points, but then a lot of the time it's like I don't need to reciprocate that. I can do this a lot quicker and more efficiently.
Into that working with a team in India, where it's the same sort of thing. It's like I send you 100 emails a day. Why would I put all of these like formal things in it? I can't do that every single time. Why do you want me to do that every single time?
Well,
exactly. My rule of thumb is once you've both replied once, just then you can drop everything. I think that's fair. Get rid of the best regards, get rid of the dear to whoever. That all disappears. It turns into a text message at that point.
I think that's the problem with email is an electronic letter, right? So I think you might have a generation or a culture that remembers writing letters, and it's like, dearest sir, I hope this telegram finds you well. How's the war? No, actually, now you'd probably be sending the same letter, actually. But let's a quick question then. How do you end your emails? Are you one of those abhorrent human beings that just puts J at the end?
No, just put thanks, comma. That's it. And then just my signature. Yeah. It's just thanks, comma. That's it.
Good. I'm a thanks person. Callie, yourself?
Usually thanks. If I'm going back and forth a bunch, then I might mix it up a little bit, but not if I don't have to.
Nah, just scrap it. That's what I'm saying. Scrap it as soon as it's gone.
Most of my emails start with thank you, and so it's weird to say thank you twice.
One of the questions later on is, what is one small change that would make the world of work better?
I've already got it's a similar answer actually.
And of course now to mitigate all this, you've learned how to speak Thai and Vietnamese.
I can speak all right Thai. Vietnamese, zero, absolutely none. I can just literally say hello and thank you in Vietnamese. But my Thai is pretty good, I think. It's like I can understand Thai a lot better than I can speak it, because a lot of the kind of ordering of words and sentences is just completely backwards to English. So that's where I go wrong. I'll say the words right, but just in the wrong order. But most people kind of get what you're saying. But then, I call it taxi Thai. So I can get around, and then I can kind of like eat food, get a beer. I could do social settings, but I'm not going to do like a whole business negotiation in Thai. There's absolutely no chance. But I think we're quite lucky. I'm quite lucky in the fact most of my Thai friends were either went to an international school or were educated overseas. So a lot of them speak fluent English. So what tends to happen when we kind of go out together, the Thais will just speak Thai to each other, and then I will answer in English, and it all works. We just have like a bilingual conversation. So Thai's a hard language because you can't read it. That's the difficult thing. It's got its own alphabet, I guess, or scribe or whatever we call it. But it's impossible. It's impossible to read. So you have to learn to read it to learn to really to kind of master it. Which I think it's got something like you can fact check this, but it's got like 40 plus letters. So it's more than what you'd expect.
I would also like to fact check that you said it's impossible to read, which I imagine.
It would be impossible for you to read. That's what I mean. It would be impossible for you can read Spanish. You know what I mean? It's the same letters. You can't read Thai just without any prior knowledge.
Very good.
I appreciate the extra explanation, because I was sitting here doing the math of like, you've been there how long and you don't communicate with anyone outside of English? What?
Yeah, no, I speak to like most locals around where I live and coffee shops and stuff. I always kind of like force myself to use Thai, but outside of that, it's mainly English.
44. is the end of 44. So you're
pretty close. Yeah, there you go.
Pretty close. You've only lived there 12 years. Why would you know exactly? Just an approximation.
I only know 40 of them. That's why I lost the other 4.
Well, in fairness, in brackets, it does say 2 of them are rarely used. So you could argue 42, and you're even closer then. So I'm doing you.
Yeah, there we go.
Clutching at straws. Cool. Well, I think with that, we should move on to our next question, Callie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Go for it.
So bosses, we talked about a not boss. How about someone who did actually end up being your boss?
I think my worst boss is probably mine and Toby's father. I think he was
wow. He'll never. It's okay. He'll never listen.
He's not watching. He's not watching.
There's only. Hang on. Let's just make this clear. So.
Yeah, I'm going to caveat it. I'm going to have a caveat.
Well,
yeah.
He has 4 sons and 1 daughter. One of them works in a Formula 1 team. That is the only output of any of our work that he'll watch because he was already watching it. So we are completely fine. I don't think he'll ever see or hear this. So you can say whatever you want.
Oh no, definitely he won't. So basically child labor from so just so you know, Callie, what my dad used to have, or our dad used to have, he used to have like outdoor bars. So at like kind of like festivals, but not like big festivals, like country fairs, not cool festivals that you'd want to go to. So yeah, we basically, our jobs on some weekends during the summer when we're supposed to be like out having fun with our friends, was to put up this massive marquee, which me and Toby were actually, to be honest, pretty useless at. My younger brother, who now builds Formula 1 cars, really good at building it. But that makes sense. But and so then my role, because I wasn't old enough to actually serve alcohol, was essentially glass collecting. So I was just running around, basically just running around picking up empty glasses for 4 or 5 hours at a time on the weekends, and then getting paid about 20 quid. But I don't think, in Dad's defense, I don't think any boss I would have had at that age who was depriving me of my summer, I would have liked. So he does get away with it. Well, he doesn't, because he did still force us to do the work. But yeah, I think he was the worst. Would you agree, Toby?
For anybody listening or watching this, all you said is someone gave me a job over the summer. I did the work and they paid me. That's my worst
Nothing.
Boss.
Yeah.
I just said 20 quid.
Oh, come on. You did not enjoy those days at all. That was a tough job, and Dad was never in a good mood on doing those either, because it was like, it wasn't fun. Callie, I can promise you it wasn't fun.
You weren't hanging... so I kind of take the point. Like, you weren't hanging out with your dad. You were hanging out with someone at work. And work dad and not a work dad are 2 very different people, because not a work dad doesn't exist. He's always at work. So... I don't know really what
I actually off the back of this, I actually worked for Dad's competitor pretty much straight after the back of this. So like when I was 17, 18-ish, I worked for the Crosslands, who owned 3 or 4 bars in Louth, and were just a direct competitor of Dad. And he would always see, whenever I came home after work, he was like, "Was it busy in there?" And he would try and like get in competitor information. I was like, "I can't tell you. You're the enemy. I'm not going to give you any information." He goes, "How much are you serving his beers for these days? How much is a pint in there these days?" I was like, "You've got to go in yourself. I'm not going to tell you. I'm working for the Crosslands now." So it was bad enough where I defected and moved to the enemy, as it were. But that, in all fairness, they're all good friends, so I don't think it mattered too much to them.
Did they try to get information out of you about your dad?
No, they didn't really care too much. Only Dad cared more about the competition than they did at that time, anyway.
I've got to be honest. I'm going to stick up for Dad here. I think that is the weakest answer we've had to that question.
Really? Well, the problem is I've really enjoyed all of my bosses. Other than that, I haven't had any that I've not liked. So, I mean, I could go through them all. I mean, one of my bosses is still a very close friend of mine. The other one of them did sell the company for north of £10 million about a month after he said he wouldn't give me share options because he was never going to sell the company. That I didn't actually like. That didn't go down pretty well.
I would argue, but, you don't have to go through all your bosses, but I would definitely argue that story is way worse than anything Dad ever did. How did that get relegated to a footnote?
Was it?
I think it's just no. So basically, it was one of those where I'd been at the company for a couple of years, and throughout the whole COVID period, and you can find this very easily on my LinkedIn now, but throughout the whole COVID period, and I'd done like pretty decent sales. So this was financial sales essentially, and the financial markets were pretty good throughout COVID. Okay, they dropped to start with, but then they kind of flew. So it was pretty easy as a job at that point. And we did pretty well. And it was like really well, to the point where I was like, someone's going to have to buy this company at some point. So I basically said, can I get some share options? Because I feel like we're in a pretty good position for a sale. To which I was told, oh, don't, because he'd set up the business himself. Like he was the founder and whatever. And he was like, no, don't worry, I'm never going to sell. This is my baby. Like, we're all a family here, which, by the way, that needs to stop. Families and businesses. That is just that whole phrase is ridiculous. And he was like, we're a family. Unless you're never leave.
Whoa. Unless your worst boss ever is your dad, and then it literally is family. So let's.
But then a couple of months later, like it's still like COVID time, so it was everyone getting this Zoom call. We're all there, like, what's going on? Are we going to get some redundancies? And he's just like, oh, I've just sold the company. I'm like, you mother. So that was actually pretty heartbreaking. But you live and learn. It's fine.
So did you stick around afterwards?
I got over it pretty quickly, actually. Well, actually, the new CEO came. Actually, I don't know if I can fully tell the story, but we'll go for it anyway. I don't think he'll listen. The new CEO came in, and he was kind of like, he basically wanted to do quite a bit of cost cutting, which is fair enough. And the sales team was one of those that was going to get a cost cut. So I was essentially faced with about a 60% pay deduction. Was it 60? Close. 50, between 50 and 60 pay deduction, because they changed the whole commission. They changed the whole commission structure. So if I'd have done the same deals that year as I'd done on the old structure, I would have earned essentially 50% less. So I was like, well, this doesn't really work for me. And he was like, why not? There's better long-term potential here. And I'm like, what do you mean long-term potential? Where are you making this up from? And it's like, well, if you get the AUM from here and blah, 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 then it will all add up in about 5 years. You'll be earning more. And I'm like, yeah, but I have to take a pay cut first. Like, this is a terrible idea. But I kind of know that he wanted to get rid of me because it was a cost-cutting exercise, which is fair enough. And I moved pretty quickly into another role without much effort, so I didn't really feel it too much. But yeah, that was an interesting one, because I think when a new CEO does come in, especially after it's an owner who's lived and breathed the company for like well over a decade at that point, someone comes in and just misses the mark completely, and it's like, I don't think that's going to work for you, buddy. But he's still there, so good luck to him. He was also very highly educated as well, which doesn't usually work very well with me. I left school at 16, and he was like doctor of finance and stuff. And it was like, what qualifications do you have? I was like, not a lot, buddy. So,
but let me tell you about the first interview I ever had. I think we'll move on to the next question after this, Callie. But in summary, I think our dad is really hard done by with all the story that you've just told, and that you've called him the worst boss. There's way more interesting stories about Dad being a bad boss than the one you told.
Oh, loads, but they're not airable. That's the problem.
Quite, and that's why we'll move to question number 3. I hate that I'm out of the loop on what's happening with that one, but
you should get him on. You should get him on. That would actually be a pretty good episode to get Dad on. He's never had a boss though, apart from Kheng.
Who's your Kheng is his dad, our grandfather. I think the question, we'd have to reframe the question: who's been your worst employee? Because he's employed
me.
He's employed you. He's employed me.
Not Jazz. He never employed Jazz.
So he's never employed Jazz.
So all the boys, yeah. she got away with it.
Yeah. Anyway, Callie, what's the next question before we just deep dive into our family history?
Trainings. Do you do trainings with the work that you do?
Yeah, I do actually. I was going to say my worst training was at Dixon's PC World, where some guy was trying to show us how to use a TV and just put countdown on, and Carol Vorderman spelled C-U-N-T on the board, and it was like one of the worst things I've ever seen. It was so embarrassing for the guy. I hope he's doing well. I don't think I was actually in that training, but I think it was episode 1. I think I went back and watched quite a few. But that was a callback for you. But I have done a few of Toby's trainings, though. I have been in your Dixon's PC World trainings. I did one with a Sony TV. It was definitely TV, so it's probably on the same roadshow, for sure. When I was there, I worked there. Yeah, it was in. I want to say Nottingham. Because I ended up I went to Rob Miranda's afterwards, because it was on the way back. But yeah, definitely did.
Please stop using like names just because I know who they are.
A, sorry.
Callie doesn't know who they are, and B, anybody listening or watching doesn't. Oh yeah, Rob Miranda. Oh, you know, everyone knows.
It was next to our Uncle and Auntie's house, so that's why I can remember it vividly. That we went. I did it with you, and then went there afterwards.
That can't be your genuine answer. That I have given you the worst training.
No, my answer is that most financial training is absolutely useless because it's pretty boring. That's the thing. There's there's 2 reasons for it. One, it has to be correct for legal reasons, obviously. It has to be like a T's and C's, essentially, which in itself is extremely boring. Also, finance is usually just numbers. Not a lot changes after you've built a fund or you've built an ETF or whatever. The underlying performance of it is just what's happened in the world, basically. Has it gone up or down, and by how much? So when you're kind of like going on the road and reintroducing these products to offices over and over again, it gets very, very mundane to listen to, especially if you're on the brokerage side. You have to sit through these presentations on a weekly basis, and they're all different fund companies coming in and telling you how their fund works when they all work the same. There's not really much difference apart from a couple of minor tweaks on the actual asset allocation side of things. So, which doesn't take an hour to explain. It takes what I've just spoken. So they are definitely the worst ones. I try to make mine a little bit more exciting when I kind of give my presentations, because I've got a little bit more of a unique product. So it's got a few more sales angles that you can kind of use and dive into. But yeah, most of the kind of financial trainings that I've ever sat through have been mind-numbingly boring. Like, it's the case, you look around the room that everyone's on their phone. No one's listening whatsoever. And it's horribly awkward a lot of the time. And I think the other reason for it is most of the guys who work in finance are salespeople. So a salesperson and a trainer, I think, are 2 very different skills. I'm sure you'd probably... There's crossover, but they're definitely different. And you can do a one-on-one pitch as a salesperson, great. You can nail it. But doing it in front of 20-odd people, it's a different kettle of fish. And some people are not good at it, despite whether they think they are. But yeah, a lot of those are extremely boring. Have you ever sat through one, a financial pitch? Have you ever been to a bank? You fall asleep within seconds of speaking to anyone at the bank when they try and sell you something. You must have got a mortgage before, Toby, surely. I think it's not a riveting conversation, is it?
No, no. You have to have like a
2-hour
call to try and get yourself a mortgage nowadays, and that is just like
yeah.
teeth.
Which is essentially a training exercise. They're not even selling on those. They're essentially just training you. This is how a mortgage works, because you never learn it in school.
But do they not? It seems quite low hanging fruit that if it's in your experience, in the decades worth of experience you've got in this area, that no one has made it interesting or good. Like, surely there's a market there for just one person to do the training really, really well and hoover up.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the kind of the product that I sell is called structured notes, so I'll probably call back to that. But in terms of structured notes, hardly anyone in the industry has ever met a structured note distributor, because it's such a it's not that complicated to me, but it's complicated if you're looking at it for the first time. But for financial advisors, you can pick it up pretty quickly how they work. But no one's even met anyone who works for a structured note company, because they're just kind of like, oh, no one's going to listen to this. No one's going to understand it, which is kind of one of my USPs, is just going into the offices and just explaining how these things work, because no one's really done it before.
And herein lies the issue, because Callie, do you know what a structured note is? Yeah, me neither.
No one does.
Joe, explain to us what a structured note is. If you're that good at explaining it, explain it now.
Are you sure? So a structured note.
Hang on. Before you start, how long is this going to take?
I reckon I can do it relatively quickly.
Okay, go for it. Challenge accepted.
So you take a basket of underlying assets. So let's say one of them could be the S&P 500, which we all know, don't we? So what we do is we take the price of the S&P 500 on day one, and then so long as that doesn't drop by a certain amount, every quarter you'll get paid a coupon. Okay? So as long as it doesn't drop by, let's say, 20%, you'll get paid every single quarter for that. And then after a year, it has a chance to mature early. You get your money back, you reinvest. So essentially, it means you will receive an income so long as markets don't completely crash. And if they were to completely crash, whatever you're invested in, you're probably going to be screwed anyway. So what it allows is moments like this, when there's wars going on left, right, and center, and markets are going crazy, you can have a steady income throughout that process. So it's very popular in things like pensions, for example. So if someone wants a solid income, then that's the easiest way to do it.
Sign me up.
There you go. Sold. So that's what I do. I build them and then I distribute them through financial advisors. That's essentially what my current role is.
So I think you work in the world of finance, right? And my argument generally, like some people who deliver training, it's like the thing they're training in, if you were that good at doing it that you're training it to someone else, then why wouldn't you just go and do the thing rather than train people in it? Because there's less money in training than the thing you're training people in. Like sales trainers are left, right, and center, right? It's like, if you're that good at sales, go and do sales because you'll make more money than the training thing. I know not everyone's driven by money, but like there's a logic there. And so is it probably the case that these people that are training you or have trained your financial products, that they're just not very good salespeople, so just stick them and get them to do the training rather than selling?
No, because a lot of them tend to actually be like the fund managers as well. So what you'll tend to have is a fund manager who is exactly what you can imagine. No offense to them, because they're some of the smartest people in the world, but they are a bit nerdy. They're not people facing. They're like our younger brother, for example. So they're a little bit nerdy, but they're not people facing, but they're very, very, very smart. So what they have to say is quite interesting. Just the way that they deliver it usually isn't. So they'll usually be coupled with a sales rep, and the sales rep is the complete opposite. They are extremely confident and charismatic, but have no idea about what they're actually selling. So you've got I know both ends. So it's like, so you've got two sides of it where you really have like, kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde sort of situation. You've got two different personalities in there trying to portray a product, which it doesn't usually mesh very well whatsoever.
So different kind of sales than what I've experienced, but is it really that they don't know it, or do they not care and they just want to say the thing that's going to close the sale versus the right thing?
Well, I think a lot of them in the finance industry will have I don't think many of them make their own presentations. Let's put it that way. I think it will have been something from above that they've gone, you can't go out of these guidelines. You have to say everything that's on this sheet. For legal reasons more than anything, and compliance reasons. So I think a lot of them are kind of cornered into that, because when you kind of get, what tends to happen in the finance industry is once they fly into Bangkok, let's say, they then want to go for dinner and have drinks and stuff like that, which we'll get onto a little bit more later on. But then you can then see it in the afternoon and evening when they're a little bit relaxed, they don't have the presentation in front of them. They know their stuff and they understand it perfectly well and they can sell it to you, but it's like they can't do it within the confines of a presentation that someone else has built for them, which is, I think, understandable. But it's it's something that needs to be fixed for sure.
Well, we've uncovered a whole new world there that we knew nothing about. And now we know, thanks to Joe's informative and educated answer, we know a bit more. Callie, what's the next question?
Yeah. So, do you have a worst first day?
I've got a couple of stories for you. One of them, obviously, I have a silly name. My name is Joe Kheng, so it sounds like I'm only Joe Kheng, which is character building in its own right, but it's the butt of a lot of jokes. But my first day at PC World, which is where Toby used to be a trainer, and I worked on the shop floor. The manager of the store in Lincoln was a guy called Ken White, and he was massive. This guy was ripped to shreds, muscly, afro, big dude, quite intimidating. And he basically kind of like stood me in front of everyone to like introduce me to the office and to the team. He picked me up from behind under my armpits, put me down, and went, "Joe Kheng aside." And I was like, God, that's the best one I've ever heard. I was like, that's so good. So I've never heard a better one since. So that was a terrible experience, just being literally manhandled within my first hour of the job. But one of the best Joe Kheng jokes I've ever heard. So yeah, can you remember him? Did you ever meet him, Tony? You must have done that.
No, I mean, for all those listening and watching in the States, PC World is like the UK version of Best Buy.
It's still called PC World in the States, no?
You don't have the PC World isn't a thing in the States.
I'm gonna Google.
Okay.
Hey, if only there was an American on the podcast that we could ask. Callie's just said, "I'm going to Google it," which makes you think it's probably not part of it's not. If there is, there's probably just one of them.
PCWorld.com. Yeah.
There's
a .com. That's a magazine, isn't it? PC World is also the name of a magazine. And
anyway, moving on.
Definitely what's coming up.
No, in short, I'd never met this dude.
Oh, well, he was a really nice guy after that. We got on really well after he initially took the piss out of me from day one.
Were there a bunch
but I will tell you.
Like, was it
there was like 10 people just like facing me. Yeah, and then I'd never met any of them. This was my first introduction to all of them. So it was pretty awkward. And at this point, none of them knew my name as well. So the joke was completely lost on everyone other than me and the guy that did it. So he kind of missed the mark on that one. But it was hilarious. I'll never forget it. It was extremely funny. No one's ever beaten that pun to this date. I do have another story for you about my first ever presentation overseas. I had to go to China in Shanghai, or Shanghai in China even. And it was one of those, it was actually quite a big office. I think there was probably 30, 35 people in there at the time. And the manager was a ex-Navy or ex-Commando Marine or something military, and then was known for like being quite a hard, ruthless manager in the industry. So I was completely shitting myself that I'd never done this presentation before, and had to go and do it in front of this guy. And I walked into the office and I was just kind of like sheepishly like, "Hi, I'm here to do the presentation," absolutely petrified. And he just stood up and was like, "Joe, just give me a couple of minutes. I need to sort something out first." And I was like, okay. And it turns out the night before they'd had like a client event that only 3 clients had turned up to. And they'd spent like loads of money on it. And like no one had basically sorted out the invitations and got people there and whatnot. So he just went mental at this office as I'm still standing in the doorway. And he's just like, "You're lazy. You're lazy. You've not put in the work. How you should be embarrassed with yourself." And like around the whole office, I was there like, "Oh my God." And then he goes, "Anyway, Joe's here to talk to you about financial planning." And I'm like, what the fuck? So then he's just like, go up there, go to the front of the projector and everything. And I was just like setting up I hadn't even set up my computer. I was still setting it up, like whilst this ranting is going on. He'd finished, I was still setting up, like, I'm not going to say anything yet. I can't speak yet. So I turned around and just went, Hi guys, my name's Joe. I promise I'm not going to shout at you today. And, thankfully, he laughed, so we got on pretty well after that. But yeah, that was quite a scary experience in the first presentation, but it all went well. They actually turned out to be one of my best offices for a number of years. The office in Shanghai. So yeah,
it's only up from there.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was never going to get worse than that. It was crazy, and he was. I mean, I censored a lot of that. There was effing and blinding galore. I was just like, God, this is not fun. I did not want to get this guy's bad side. And then I was petrified of saying anything wrong in the presentation and him calling me out on it. That was what I was more worried about, was like just giving misinformation and him just going mental. But thankfully, there was no issues.
Were you ever on the receiving end of a similar dressing down from this chap?
Not from that guy, no. In fact, we got. I've got a lot of stories about him actually, but no, there was. We never had any disagreements. No, I haven't really been shouted at for quite a long time actually, which is probably surprises you. But no, I tend to stay pretty well behaved when it comes to work. I don't really get into too much trouble. Keep myself. But it also helps. I've worked from home before it was cool. I've worked from home since like 2017, so that definitely helps of staying out of trouble in the workspace for sure.
The last boss to shout at you was Dad.
Probably, honestly, yeah. I think it was close. I can remember actually going back to PC World. I remember the day that I left there. This was the worst last day. Actually, this is a new question for you. The worst last day was. It was I think it was Children in Need or something. It was a fancy dress day anyway. So I was in fancy dress, and I came in a onesie with a baby bonnet and a dummy. So a big baby, essentially. And the boss, I believe his name was Russell, was dressed as Superman. And it just so happened like it was the day that he decided he was going to fire me. And I was like, you mother. So we were in the office, and I'm there with the dummy in my mouth, with the like chewing on the dummy in my mouth. And he's just like, and he was like, look, Joe, he made a football reference, which was like about a small team knocking out a big team in the FA Cup, and he was like, "Look, I think it was Luton or someone that does not something." Anyway, so he was like, "Look, you've done a Luton on a few occasions, but we need a Liverpool." And I was like, "I don't like Liverpool, bro. Like, you know this." And he was like, "No, I'm saying that we have to get rid of you." I was like, "What? Damn it!" So yeah, I got fired by Superman dressed as a giant baby, which was definitely my worst last day in employment. Anyway, that's a true story as well. That's a true story. I swear on my life, a true story. Yeah, I was making a football reference to fire me.
In on to understand.
Yeah, that's a genuine true story. I think.
Well, Russell, yeah, I know, but
I
think, Joe, you're a victim of transatlantic relations here, because you mentioned Children in Need. No idea what that is as an American. And the difference between Luton and Liverpool at football also does not scan across an audience beyond a conversation between you and me, quite frankly. The weird
Children in Need is a charity where you all dress up on that day for children, and that's why we're dressed up.
Just rephrase that next time you say it. The thing I would say, you're not dressing up for children. You're not a children's entertainer. That's not what it's
that's true. Yeah.
I think it was trackable, Toby.
Okay, fine. In the UK version of the sitcom The Office, David Brent, the Michael Scott, gets made redundant.
He was very David Brent, yeah.
Whilst in fancy dress, and he has to go and do take a photograph for the newspaper about the company raising charity in fancy dress after just being made redundant. So you're
that was
David
maybe
Brent,
me.
Michael Scott. Yeah.
I'll take it. I'd rather be Jim, but I'll take Michael Scott. I don't mind.
No, you'll be Michael. You're Michael Scott. Irony being, our dad is called Michael, so there you go.
There we go.
It all works.
Okay,
Callie.
tangents. We've had no tangents. Have you guys watched the 90s things of what were you like in the 90s? Have you seen those clips going around? Have you seen the John Krasinski one?
With the other Jim.
That was
with
the
Asian
best
Jim.
one.
With Asian Jim, yeah.
Yeah, it's all just 10 pictures of Asian Jim in different things.
It's very good. It's very good. Yeah, but are they actual pictures? Are they? Anyway, I don't want to do a deep dive into because I was like, anyway.
I don't know. I like to hope they're just friends, and he was just like, "Hey, can I have 10 pictures of you?" And that's how we got in the episode in the first place. But I did not do.
I hope not. I do.
Yeah, they're definitely friends in real life, I think.
Lovely stuff. So Michael Scott, I mean Joe Kheng. Joe Kheng aside, it's very good. Like it does work. Where are we going to take the conversation next, Callie? Because it feels
okay. I want to pressure test this quick though. Toby, do you have a worst last day?
Worst last day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can tell this. So I finished up at an organization, and their office wasn't too close to my house, and I was like, can you just? I can't be bothered to come back into the office now. Like, I will see out my notice period from working from home. I don't want to come back. Can you just send me all my stuff back? And they said yes, and I was like, great, that's fantastic. And I had a very weird collection of stuff. I had, in fact, this trophy. This trophy was in that office. This is one of the things I asked them to send me back. Because
can we guess what it's for?
Yeah, if you want.
I'm going to go beer pong.
No.
Oh.
I have.
This was a completely remote company at the time. So, they sent me that.
Sales?
They said no. We did like an end of week quiz thing at the end, and that person got the trophy. I was like, well, I quite like that trophy. I want that back. A games console and my mugs, like drinking mugs, right? Like I took those to the office. Can you just send me those back? And they sent me them back, but they didn't. They sent the mugs back dirty, and I was like, I've not been there. I've not been drinking out of these mugs. You've just sent me dirty mugs in the post. And I was like, what? Could you not even just, what are you doing? So I think that's like kind of my worst last day. I was like, oh, okay, that's how this relationship's ended. You sending me some quite offensive mugs in the post. I'm like, come on.
And I know, like, oh, he's not coming back. We'll start using these.
Well, you wouldn't even do that in a breakup, though. If you went through a breakup, you wouldn't send back their stuff dirty, would you?
So yeah, a couple of scumbags did that. But anyway, Callie, do you have a worse last day?
Yeah, I got a job to call people and wish them happy birthday.
That was your job?
Yeah. I was 2 weeks into working at a retail chain, and someone came through my line and was like, here's a card. I want to hire you. And it was no weekends, like $10 an hour, which was great at the time. And so I went and did that, which there's a story in that. So I'll save that one for when Toby and I do our own version of it. But this person was like the worst at confrontation. And turns out she was illegally teaching me to do changes to insurance policies because I'm not licensed, right? And so it was like I was covering breaks for people and doing these things. And so she went to a training, and I'm pretty sure what happened was she found out that was illegal and she had to stop having me do that. And so her office and mine shared a wall, did not talk to me the entire day. And then right after she left, like I think she scheduled the email, I got an email that was saying my hours were going to be cut by more than 50%. And so I was like, yeah, no, not doing this. And I'd already started working at another job that wanted to pay me overtime to be working while I was at this place. So I didn't need it. And so I got all my stuff cleaned up, and then I did the same thing and had a scheduled email that went to her at 5:00 that was like, keys are on the desk, my email's cleaned out, see you never again. And then she started sending me harassing text messages about how I had to give 2 weeks notice. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And I didn't, the biggest reason for not doing that was because she was terrible, and I knew it was going to be a really long 2 weeks. So it was like, I'm just going to be done. Like, you were super rude. So yeah, I guess this is it.
Wow.
That's a pretty bad last day.
Yeah, but the majority of the job was just, again, calling people to say happy birthday. So it was a weird sort of like, why is
so what was the insurance
stressful?
thing? What was the insurance fraud there? Were you like illegally confirming birthdays or something?
No, so
if they said thank you, then you know it's the birthday. If they were like, what?
And your mother's maiden name?
Yeah. So it was like I was covering the lunch hour for her assistant, like the person who would do all the changes for policies. And so I would come in and do my calls, but then I would have to answer the phones when this other person was gone for lunch. And so then they just started teaching me how to make changes. And like, it was complicated. I didn't have enough context to be doing it properly. So I probably messed something up because I had no idea what I was doing. But then when I'd call people to talk to them for their birthday, then they'd be like, oh, I've been meaning to call you. Like, I need this change made. And apparently I was supposed to do that. And yeah, no, I was not legally supposed to be doing any of that. So
that's such a weird strap, by the way, to update insurance details on their birthday. to use that as like the kicker to, you moved house recently or anything? Are you going to catch up with me? Like they would have nothing else better to do on their birthdays than update their insurance details.
And now, unfortunately,
I think it was just like, oh, convenient. Like I needed to call you. Okay, so I'm gonna tell the worst story then, because I don't know. It just probably makes more sense in this context. But so I called someone who'd been dead for 10 years.
Did they answer?
There is a lot of insurance fraud in the US, to be fair. There's a lot of dead people with policies in the US.
Fair. No, well, it was like someone had retired and the agent that I worked for had inherited a bunch of policies. And so the policy was accurate, but they hadn't updated the records to show that this person had died. And his wife was not giving me anything, right? And so I called and was like, hey, can I speak to so-and-so? And she just was like, no. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, can I leave him a message? And she said, no. And so it was like, okay, well, I was just calling to wish him happy birthday. And then she was like, yeah, he's been dead for 10 years.
It's the worst day of her. It's the worst day of the year for her, reminding her about the birthday of her dead husband.
So the only redeeming part of that was at no point did I get out where I was actually calling from. So I don't think she was able to trace it back to us. But yeah,
God.
no,
just wanted to wish your dead husband a happy birthday.
And he's behind on his premiums.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So don't take a job calling people to say happy birthday. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Right. I think that's a good segue into our next question, Callie. Where are we heading next?
Yeah. So other than calling people to wish dead people happy birthday, what's the worst thing you've been asked to do at work?
I think this is actually quite a tough one because I haven't really been asked to do not anything too kind of strenuous. As I say, finance is a pretty black and white industry, so you can't really go beyond the lines in terms of anything product-wise. So nothing on that end. What I will say, though, is my job comes with a lot of travel, and some of that travel is nowhere near as pleasant as what is made out in the kind of like the finance world. I'll give you one story. The first time I ever went to India, to New Delhi. And this was like the first time I had a job with like a real travel budget. But at the same time, I didn't want to like take the piss. So I booked the whole trip on like a proper budget. Like didn't go fancy hotels, didn't go anything. I was like, I'm just gonna, I want to be like in the good books and not rip off anything. So I booked this hotel online, and as I was driving there from the airport, I landed at about 10 p.m. as well. So there was no backup option here. It was here or nowhere. And I was on the way, and then I realized we're kind of like going through loads of like military style gates and fences. And this is just on the outskirts of New Delhi. And it turns out it was a military zone in which I was booked a hotel in, which only allowed Indian nationals to stay in it. So there was no foreign visit, which makes sense because it's a military base, which is why it was so cheap, because it was just, I don't know, I just chose the cheapest one, but had good reviews, to be fair. But I got there and they were just like, no, you can't stay here. And I was like, what? And they're like, you're not staying here. And I was like, why not? They're like, you're English. You can't stay in our military hotel. I was like, so it essentially was for like family visiting people in the military or the base or something. So it wasn't luxurious at all, let's put it that way. So I basically kind of pled my ignorance and innocence and said that I booked online. It should have not allowed me to book because I gave my passport details. So I was like, this shouldn't have been allowed. You shouldn't have. I've already paid as well at this point. So I'm like, I have to stay somewhere. So I kind of like called my boss. He was in Dubai at the time, so it was like still quite late in the evening for him. And he was like, why the fuck didn't you just stay at the Radisson Blu? It's like right next to the office you're going to tomorrow morning. And I was like, well, it was like $200 a night. It's like, yeah, it's $200. We're a finance firm. I was like, God, that makes so much more sense. I didn't realize. So yeah. I actually managed to stay there that night. I talked them into it and I was like, look, I'll be out of here at like 5 a.m. Just let me just sleep. And I've been traveling all day. Let me just put my head down and then I'll get out and I'll find a new hotel before I have to go and do my office meetings or office visits the next day. So they put me into this room, no aircon. So it's just like a ceiling fan. And I think at that time of year, it's something like 31 degrees. So I was just like, this is the worst experience of my life. So that's my worst. That's the one time I've sat in a hotel room on a work trip and thought, I don't think it gets any worse than this. I think this is bottom. It was horrible. Horrible.
I remember... Oh, sorry, go on, Kelly.
Like that's a rite of passage, though, to like be trying to do the right thing and like, I'm going to get the cheap hotel and then be like, oh, I'm never getting the cheap hotel again.
I'm staying IHG hotels, getting points every single time, and the points have been spent on me. And that is how it works from now on. But yeah, that was just awful.
But at the beginning of the podcast, we did joke that some of these situations would be self-inflicted.
Oh, they're my fault, 100%.
Yeah, the worst thing, the question is, what is the worst thing you've been asked to do at work? And it is be accountable for your own travel.
Yeah, I shouldn't be. I didn't ask to be.
To be fair, yeah, I know you, and there is no way you should be accountable for a lot of stuff going on in your life.
Yeah, there's so it's like I completely agree. Travel's one thing that I just like it infuriates me 90% of the time, which is why I would say it's one of the worst things I have to do for work is actually just travel around. It's like it has its novelty at the start. For sure, but then God, it gets boring quick. And do you know what it is? It's like when you're in I assume you travel a lot, Callie, as well. Maybe more internally in America, but still travel. Yeah. It's like every single person in an airport has never been on a plane before. Like when you travel regularly, and then when you kind of go in there and. I don't know what it is about people finding their seats on a plane that's so difficult. It blows my mind how many people sit in the wrong seat and have to like constantly look at their ticket and then the left side and the right side. You know if you're A, B, and C are on the left or whichever way around it is, and D, E, and F are on the right. But yet they're still like 11A looking at both sides. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you should know you're either the aisle seat or the window seat. And then it's just a counting the rows. So yeah, that I think traveling for work has ruined leisure travel, I think is what I'm trying to get to. So it's a nightmare. But outside of that, nothing really too bad that I don't think I've been asked to do really, apart from like kind of late nights and just working on weekends. A lot of travel over weekends. Not a fan of that either. But yeah.
I think
I've had a pretty easy employment, to be fair.
I was about to say, yeah.
Too many nightmares, to be honest.
Well, that's not the next question. That comes later. My father-in-law traveled a lot for work, and when he retired, he hasn't left the country since. He's like, I just don't want to travel anywhere ever again. Like, it's the last thing I want to do is to get on a plane.
I get it.
How he's married?
I could do the same.
Your father-in-law?
Who?
Is your father-in-law?
Yes. Yeah, they holiday in the UK, right? They holiday in England.
is his wife okay with that? Because I've seen that cause a lot of stress with like, no, we can finally travel and be together, and be like, no, I just want to be home.
Nah, I've done all my traveling.
Yeah.
I think that this is a very deep conversation to get into on this podcast. I think there may be some friction in that conversation. That's probably as much as I can say.
I've seen that be such a problematic point for lots of people, and it makes sense that it would be a point of friction.
Yeah.
I think to save Toby from answering the awkward question, the other issue that sounds fun, and I know that Toby and the majority of my family have joked to me about this, is that when you're on especially when it's finance and you're on a road trip, basically going from office to office to office, you are drinking every single day, and it's almost unavoidable. And I know, see, look, you take the piss. It's so painful. I recently, I say recently, it's probably October time. I was in Malaysia, and I had like a 5-day stretch where I was amazed I survived. Like, there was a broker from Shanghai came to Bangkok on the Friday. So we went out on Friday. I then saw him again on Saturday. I then flew to Malaysia on Sunday, met a broker Sunday night, went to a conference on Monday, and then took another broker out on Tuesday in KL. 5 days in a row. And the Wednesday, I had to go and do a presentation, and I wear a Whoop, which tracks my fitness. I was dead. It was like, you need to see a doctor, basically. And I went in, did this presentation, came back to the room, cancelled all of my meetings the rest of the day. They were online, thankfully. And I did not leave that hotel room for 48 hours. I was in so much pain. It's awful. And I think that is we need more sympathy with the finance profession.
Honestly, mate, I think you were barking up the wrong tree saying that. Clip that up and put that on socials.
You're drinking a beer now. You're a beer. Is that beer?
This is just a stainless steel can of generic soda, my friend.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
That one's the beer, which still has the label.
But no, it's a real epidemic within the finance
Talking
industry.
Of drinking, me and Callie do an event in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is known as like the drinking capital of the world, because they have been part of many like professional drinking competition. So maybe you're like an honorary Wisconsinite is probably what you. And you know what? Supporting Green Bay is a damn sight better than supporting the Miami Dolphins, because
the Miami Dolphins suck,
and they're an awful team.
So bad.
Anyway, this isn't a football podcast. That's what I do with Rocket. How about we move on to the next question, Callie?
So, small change, other than making finance people drink so much.
I know, right? I saw this question coming up. I was like, oh, I wish I didn't travel as much or have to drink as much. I'm so... Well, you are lonely, but...
See, we get no sympathy. Where's my dog, actually? He's usually accompanying me.
Even your dog doesn't want to hang out with you because you're never.
I don't know. I think he's in bed. Honestly, I think he's in bed. But no, small things that I changed. Now, this is just a general public service announcement. People need to answer their phones. This is like, I don't know what happened at what point in time, but people just, why do I have to book a phone call with someone I work with? That is the most bizarre thing in the world. HR in general need to fix that for the whole world. It's like, I know what I do at work, and I know what other people do at work. I know you're not that busy. Like, unless you're doing deep work or you're in a meeting, you can answer. It's like, can I give you a quick call? Yeah, how about tomorrow at 10 a.m.? No. If I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you now. Yeah, like that's just why I'm trying to call you. It's so frustrating.
These are people who like have your number in their phone. They know that you're calling them.
Oh yeah. Like, I'm talking purely just for internal work calls. So like when you've got something that you need to discuss with work or a case that you need to go over, this shouldn't be like something that needs to be booked.
I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. And if it's at 10 a.m. tomorrow, it's not your birthday then, so I can't say happy birthday then. I need to talk to you now.
So it's you're doing better than me, though. Like, Toby used to hear about this a lot. I would say, hey, we need to have a call, and I would just never hear back.
Yeah, crazy. It's mental. Just I say to everyone, just call me. Like, none of us are that busy. We're actually not. There's this massive illusion now that we all work from home that we're super busy all of a sudden. And it's like, no, you're not. You're only busy when you're in the office because you're probably speaking to people you work with. When you take that element of like socialism or socializing out of the equation, we save so much more time being at home. We work so much less hours. We all know it. That's why we like working from home. So it's like, why do we can work even more efficiently if we just call each other when we need something doing? Yet no one does it. It blows my mind. It's the most frustrating thing in modern day work by a long way for me.
I think like a sub note to that. What's your opinion on the voice note then in like WhatsApp?
I love a voice note. I absolutely love a voice note. You know I do.
Because you
I love
and Toby are brothers.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's
Kelly,
2 reasons for it. I've actually have recently started using an app. This is not an ad, but it's called Whisper Flow, which is the best AI dictator that I've come across. You even have to pay for it, and I use it because people have such a problem with voice notes. I'm going to be right. If you don't want the voice note, I'll just record the voice note and send it as text. And it's going to be really long. So either way, I'm going to waste your time. It's either going to be a long voice note or just a massive block of text. You can choose which one you want. But
there is a joke in there about a dictator with artificial intelligence, which I'm not going to pull at that thread because we talked about that just before the podcast record. But I think make your own jokes at home. And thank you. We do have a sponsor of this podcast every episode, and this podcast is sponsored by Whisper Flow. Thank you.
There you go. Is it actually?
No, of course
not.
we made, yeah.
They sponsor a lot of podcasts. I don't know. They could have done. I don't know.
Hey,
that's how I heard about it.
Yeah, this is the first
folks of the Whisper Flow are listening. Get in touch. Sponsor us. See what I did there? Because it's a whisper. We could whisper the whole ad read. It'd be quite good.
But
the entire episode whispering.
Could you imagine? What was your worst first day at work? That's very ASMR-y. Is like, Joe, what was your first day at work?
That's weird. Weird. That would be my worst nightmare. Have you seen this though as a general thing? It's like, has phone usage just gone down in terms of calls? Because I think everyone now feels like they need to schedule a Zoom instead of just a normal phone call.
There's a particular generational thing as well that emerging generations don't like speaking on the phone because there's a level of being not able to prepare for the conversation. When you pick up a phone, like you don't know what's going to be on the other end. I mean, we're even doing work with clients about like literally helping people with confidence in answering the phone because genuinely, like you don't know what's on the other end. Like, and you've got a talent, right? You've got the
That's
gift
half the game of it.
Well, yes, but you see it as a game and quite fun and entertaining. For the general population who aren't hammered on a plane, we find it quite stress-inducing sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, and they don't even talk to their
friends. I don't think
I've ever their like significant others that way, right? Like it's like a Snapchat.
That's the other thing,
yeah. A Snapchat of the ceiling while you say something, text something. I don't know.
I've actually weirdly I'm kind of like the generation that never had Snapchat. I never got it. I was like the last one to escape it, I think.
Someone mentioned it on a training course I was delivering the other day, and I was like, "Oh, it still exists." I didn't realize it. I just died out, honestly. But
some of my friends I go back to the UK, they're like on Snapchat. I'm like, "What are you doing? Like you're into the 30s? Is this still a thing?"
Welcome to this podcast, hosted and guested with young, relevant people who know the world of technology and communication. So you kind of alluded there about your nightmare. So Kelly, what's the question?
Do you have a reoccurring nightmare? Literal or figurative?
Not necessarily a reoccurring one, but the one thing that I always like panic about that will kind of get me out of bed to check my computer or whatever is basically spelling people's names wrong on emails. I don't know what it is, but I have to double check every single email that I send because I'm just like petrified, or I've sent it to the wrong person, either to the wrong person or the wrong name. And I'll send an email like this morning and I'll like get it to the end of the evening. I'm like, am I sure I put the right name on that? I'd have to go and like double check it and check back. But I have found the spelling the name wrong is like it's a secret anti-AI kind of like blocker where people know it's you. And you can make a pretty good joke out of it as well. If you just go, oh, well, at least you know I'm not using AI to run emails. And then they go, oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, the name's spelled completely wrong, or it's the wrong name or something like that. So it does. Yeah, that's the one, though, that always, whenever I send an email, I'm always kind of like panic instantly to go and check to see whether I've
So let's ask this as a follow-up question. Callie, how often does your name get misspelled in emails, and what do they say instead of Callie? If
all the time. And there's just an E at the end, typically. But I'm super sensitive about it, too. So if I spell anyone's name wrong in an email, I am very angry at myself because it's not hard to verify.
Well, our surname is, surely yours is always spelled, well, we've got the same surname. So mine's always got the H missing out of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I always get K-E-N-G, and there's the H is dropped all the time. And also Joe without an E, that winds me up no end because it's literally the female version of the name.
So I was about to say, is that your one? You get J-O all the time.
J-O, yeah. J-O-K-E-N-G. And I'm like, but you've not got either right. One's 3 letters.
Do you want to guess mine?
Tony.
You surely don't get Toby with an I.
No. Callie, what did you say?
Oh, Tony. Yeah, it's next to
Tony.
B.
All the flipping time, Tony. Even people I've known for years, Tony. I'm like,
the B and the N are next to each other. That makes sense on the keyboard.
Yeah, but it still annoys me because it's like, come on. You've known me for quite a while. Stop calling me Tony.
I don't think it's the keyboard that's the problem, or at least that's my guess.
Yeah, it's
anyway.
the user. Definitely.
But you'll never get the little red squiggle under it because it's correct as Tony. That's the thing. Like you'll never have a complete mistype if there is a mistype.
The one I have at the moment is I have a client and her name is Nicole, and I didn't realize there was like you can spell it with 1 L or 2 L's in Nicole, and hers is a 2 L one. So I that's the one that keeps me awake. Is like, oh God, did I? And Deborah as well as like a version of Deborah doesn't have an H at the end. And yeah, two spellings of names, and they're both on the same project as well. So you're like, oh, I just hope I spell their names right. So far, I think I've got away with it.
Deborah. The other thing is like when I'm scheduling a meeting and putting the wrong date. That's the other thing. I always panic and like, did I put that? But now you've got Google where you got the link and you can just go, you choose. So it's loads easier.
Toby, you should update yours like Tina Marie and just like, so her name is Tina Marie, but then in her LinkedIn afterwards it says not Tina. So you could just be like Toby, not Toby.
Not
and then maybe people would get it right.
Well, I feel like there's an opportunity for us to do a spin-off podcast called Kill Toby instead of Kill Tony. That's probably the next evolution of what we're going to do. Sorry, Joe, go on. You're the guest. Speak, please.
No, I was going to say I see a common theme on LinkedIn at the moment where people put in emojis in their name. So without a space, so like either an emoji at the start and then their name. So if anyone uses like AI to scrape LinkedIn and they get marketing emails, they know if it's like an actual person that's emailed them or whether it's come from like a LinkedIn scrape. So they'll do emoji, then the name, but no space because the AI will take the spaces and separate the names up. So you have to have it like in the name. But,
have you seen that you can like add your pronunciation? You can record the pronunciation of your name next to your name. I clicked on one the other day and they literally put a whole sales pitch in that little thing.
Really?
Like, I was like, kudos, dude, because like I just came here to see how to pronounce your name because we're on a call soon, and you've just whacked a whole sales pitch on there, and then said at the end, oh, and by the way, this is how you pronounce my name. I was like, innovation, that is very cool.
I was going to say my favorite LinkedIn hack. I'm actually a bit worried to say this because it's probably going to cause chaos. But you know, when you see, especially this is for salespeople, especially because this is actually a really funny thing to do. But you know, when you see like book an appointment in like underneath the name, if you've got a client who you want to pitch, just book yourself an appointment. It's so funny because you know they're free. You know that they have then not doing anything else because it syncs to a calendar. So you just go into the call. Like I've had one where the guy's gone, what are you doing? I was like, I've been on your profile. You're clearly trying to sell me something. Don't ever speak to me again. And one where the guy must have not checked. And I just like jumped on the call like, hey, how you doing? And then just started my sales pitch. And this guy was like, what's going on here? I had no idea what's happening. And I was just like, I just took over the conversation, even though it's through his calendar. So it's quite funny, but you go for it. I'm sure you'll get more yeses than nos.
I can level up that one. Someone did that for me, and to be fair, I did say, yeah, go ahead, book something in. I got on because they was like, oh, we think we might, you'd be a good guest for our podcast. Would you like to come on our podcast? Like, yeah, sure. Let's jump on a 15-minute call to discuss it. So it was literally a 15-minute call. I jumped on and goes, cool, right. So this is how we record the podcast. I'll press record in about a minute, and then we'll go. And I was like, what? It's like, yeah, this is a podcast recording. So it's like, this is a 15-minute call. Like, we're going to record a podcast. And I was like, this can't be a great podcast. Screw it. I will just go and interview me so I can just have the recording just to see what it looks like. But literally, this guy's sales technique is get you on a call to talk about record a podcast, actually record the podcast while you're there. And then they syndicate the content and stuff like that, but then give you the clips like, oh, here's some clips. It's like, oh, it's great finding out more about your business and how we can help you. It's like, clever.
I can level up on that one.
Here we go. Double level up.
I got a text message from a reporter who wanted to talk about the stuff that my nonprofit does, because they, like, how it was worded, it sounded like they were doing research to start putting together a story. And so I showed up and they had a camera set up and we did a whole 15-20 minute interview, and I was on the news that night.
What?
That's like, thankfully I didn't show up in like a sweatshirt, right? Like, I came from another meeting, and so I was put together like it was intentional, but I was like, oh, okay, this is not a 10-minute conversation. Let me learn about your organization. And of course, like, all the questions, she didn't know anything. And so they weren't like good questions. And so it's like trying to like guide things back to anything that I would be okay with them cutting up.
That's crazy.
Fascinating. But well, that's a new one.
That's like the guy who turned up for an interview, a job interview at the BBC. And they said, are you here for the interview? And he said, yes. And then he was on BBC News talking about how U2 was dropping their podcast on all iPhones without any permission. And they're asking him what he thinks about it.
He answered the question as well.
Yeah. I think some people may like it, some people may not, but that's how the world works. Like, it's great. If you've not seen it,
but they didn't even clock. They cut to him like 2 or 3 times. Like, they kept going back to him before they like realized he's not supposed to be here. So
at which point it's too late to change the guest. Joe, you have did they hire him? It's a good question, actually. I don't know.
Great question. No idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
well, whilst you're asking
him, you have to now.
And he, you know what? Adaptable under pressure. That dude was like, like,
you need to watch that, Callie. It's so funny. It's so funny.
That sounds amazing.
Joe, you have opted in to our optional question, which is co-workers from hell. Some people shy away from this question because they're too scared of offending people they've worked with in the past. You, however, have no problem with that because you're always drunk. So how are you going to answer this? Well, Callie usually asks the questions, but
that's actually quite ironic that you finished with that. Am I answering?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, that's the nature of the question.
Well, the thing is like, so we have something in Bangkok called the vortex. Okay, the vortex can swallow people up. Bangkok is a pretty wild city that if you don't control yourself, the city will control you. So very much, well, a lot of times, especially after I first moved here, there was almost a revolving door of people coming through the office because people would move here from the UK or the US or Australia or whatever, never lived in Asia before, never lived in a city as crazy as Bangkok before, and they would go completely off the rails, like turning up drunk. Also, we would have, this is no word of a lie, you would go into the office on any given day, and if someone had gone out the night before for a couple of beers after work, you knew that had been turned into a full-on bender. Like, certain characters in that office, you could tell, like, this is not gonna end in 1 or 2 days. That's not gonna happen. There was once when we came into the office and we had like we had not one of the top managers, but one of like the managers was basically doing a kind of conference or a presentation. We go into the conference room, and there's a guy literally asleep on the boardroom desk, like from going out the night before, and then got in, let himself into the office, slept on the boardroom desk, and we're all like, dude, what are you doing? Like, the boss is here. And he goes, that's why I slept in the office. And we're like, what? And he's like, well, I didn't want to miss the meeting. So I just thought if I end here, then I'll wake up here. And it was like, I was hoping someone would wake me up before he walked in. So we're all just kind of stood there like, it's not like a murder scene, honestly. It's just a guy asleep on and it's like not like it was a kid like I was, but not like in his early like this is like a middle-aged man just like asleep on the. I know you like this, Kelly. It was a white man as well, a middle-aged white man who's just, which is it always is just asleep on the boardroom. And then this would be like a common thing. You'd have people like disappear and in like the day to go to the toilet and just fall asleep in the cubicle, and like it was crazy as well. So there was a lot of people now that I aren't in the industry anymore that just essentially didn't survive it because it was Bangkok itself is a brutal city. The finance industry is a very drinking heavy industry, and yeah, you would have some people in there that you would just be like, I have no idea how you can function in like normal society. This is just insane. Because Bangkok gets very normal once you've been here for a while, but you have to like survive the vortex period. And I think that's what a lot of people fail at massively to do. Which was, they were some of the worst co-workers ever because you just had they were so volatile. You had no idea what you were going to get. Whether they were going to walk through the door sober, drunk, about to be drunk, or just slept in the office or not gone home. It was insane, those first few years here.
So I have a logistical question about the boardroom.
Go for it.
Did it have that awful, like, too much alcohol rankness about it when you got there?
Like the mustiness. Yeah, there's like the musty smell for sure. I mean, the thing is, it was like that's the other thing. There was probably like 30 odd guys in that office. I was by far the youngest in there by a long way. So I was kind of babysat in a way. Everyone was like, look, you're actually too young for this to happen to you. You need to kind of like lock in. But anyone who was like over the age of 25, I would say, was kind of expected to understand how to behave. But you could tell when they walked through the door on any given day, like who'd been drinking and who hadn't. Like you could there's 30 of us in an office pretty closely packed in. You could smell alcohol on someone who'd been on a night out from the night before. It was something else. It was an experience for sure. But yeah, there was a musty smell, definitely. And the thing is, what made it worse was the building's aircon would switch off from like 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. or something, or 7 a.m. So like they're like sleeping in there. Like bearing in mind, Bangkok doesn't get cool. Like right now it's 11:30 p.m. and it's 27 degrees Celsius. So it's like it doesn't get cool at night. Like and the humidity is probably close to 100. It's ridiculous. So being in an office drunk with no aircon is just I don't know how that can ever be. The idea was like, this is a good idea. It's just, it's crazy, honestly, crazy.
So is there like the vortex? Is that what inspired the film The Hangover then? Because that's kind of the whole
basically concept. Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've always called it the vortex between us friends, but that's that exact scenario of just someone getting stuck on a rooftop somewhere. That happens. Like that's a thing. I've done it. I've only done it once where I've got in off a night out just as the sun was rising, and I used to have a rooftop swimming pool. So I went up to the swimming pool. It's like, oh, I'll watch the sunrise. Fell asleep in a sun lounger. Then woke up sunburned at like 9 a.m. and like been sat in the sun for 3 hours. Like right under it. But that's a mistake you only make once because I burn pretty badly. So not as badly as Toby, but I burn pretty badly. So just, so I avoid that at all costs now. I actually avoid the sun quite a lot, to be honest with you, these days. It's too hot here.
Oh, you're. I think you're in, like-minded company in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, Minneapolis is one of the coldest places in America, no?
The home
Apart
of
from
exploding
Alaska.
trees.
We still
as
get
Kelly's informed me.
yeah, it gets really hot in the summer still. Like, I mean, do a conversion quick while we.
Whilst Callie's doing the conversion, just a quick update on the guy who was on the BBC News. No, he didn't get the job because he missed the interview.
What?
And they didn't give him a second interview. They didn't give him another chance, so he didn't get the job. But so there you go, poor guy.
That's the BBC for you.
Okay, so 37. Yeah, like 37, 38. Like there's probably a week or so.
It gets to 37 in Minneapolis.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like our peak usually is like 37. Like sometimes it dips into the 40s, but rarely.
So the like convergent points on the other side is -40, and that's how cold it was during one of the marches this January. So we get quite a fluctuation.
Yeah, I don't think here, I think the coolest I've ever experienced in Bangkok is about 22 degrees. Never gone below that, but it is beautiful when it's that. That's always around Christmas as well. So we share the same winters, but our winters just tend to be really hot. You got sun, have you there? Is that what you're trying to show off? One day a year in England where you've got sun.
No, come here. We have got sun, but I don't usually bring my children onto the podcast, but because Joe, you're related to this one, I think it makes sense.
Oh, who have we got?
We got Nora.
Hey, Nora. Hello.
Say hi, Uncle Joe.
She can't hear me, right? She has headphones on.
There you go. She can't.
Hello, Nora. How are you?
He said he's going to give you £100 cash for your birthday. And Daddy will be
Damn it.
Second, okay? There you go.
I'm telling Mum.
There you go.
Oh, dear. Well, you owe me for the fantasy football as well. Actually.
Genuinely, literally running back to the house shouting, Mummy, Uncle Joe's going to give me money.
Oh, God. There's too many nieces and nephews now. I've stopped doing presents. I've quit. There's too many.
The other one's coming through. I'm just going to close the door. Why don't we move on to the last question, Callie?
Yeah. So
what's the last question?
The commute, right? So qualifiers, it has to be a regular commute, not something you did like once or twice. But do you have a longest commute?
Nope. No, my longest commute was probably when I was in the UK. It was only an hour though. It wasn't that bad. To Lincoln from Louth. It was probably only 45 minutes. But I tell you what you will have often here is if you miss traffic at the wrong time. I mean, you've experienced this Toby in Bangkok. The traffic is bonkers here. So like if you a very narrow miss of like 5-10 minutes, if you're the wrong side of rush hour, it can take you hours to get anywhere in the city. It's crazy. But I thankfully like waking up quite early in the morning, mainly to avoid traffic. So, I'm usually out the door before there's any issues with any traffic here and don't get to escape it. But for example, just now coming to film this, that was probably a 2.5 kilometer journey. It took me half an hour on a motorbike as well. So I was cutting in and out of traffic and it still took half an hour because the traffic's that bad. So that's the only time when I've had bad commutes here was when I was mainly coming back from the office at 5 p.m. And also the worst part about Bangkok for sure is during the rainy season, which is about 6 months of the year from April to about October. It rains consistently at 5 p.m. So when everyone is trying to leave, everyone's trying to go home from work, it starts raining. It's similar to England when it snows. Just everyone forgets how to drive when it rains here. And so the traffic is ballistic and you don't want to walk anywhere. And you don't want to go on a bike because it's raining. So you have to get a car or the underground, which is disgusting. It's actually beautiful. The underground is really, really nice compared to especially the US and the UK. But the problem is once it's 30 degrees raining and then the aircon is at like 18 degrees on the tube. So you're going in wet and then from being wet and hot to wet and cold and everyone's coughing. And it's just like you don't want to be on the underground during a rainy season. But it's clean. It's really nice. But it's just the environmental factors are dreadful. So that's the longest commute. It's rainy season, Bangkok. Getting anywhere is the longest commute for sure.
I feel like that's the most descriptive answer we've ever had to that question. But 1 hour on our Top Gear leaderboards, Top Gear style leaderboard of times. You're pretty much in the middle. Like we
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh,
like that's not that long, really. In the
no, yeah, I can imagine actually thinking about it.
But there we go. Okay.
What was the
so
longest?
There we go. A flight between Minneapolis and London.
Regularly.
Yeah, like
2 weeks.
every other week.
They do 2 weeks in one and then 2 weeks in the other.
Oh, well, I did
But
Dubai for a while. That was a 6-hour flight, but I didn't do it that regularly. That was more like
but he
monthly.
did it for like a year, 2 years, something like that?
2 years.
2 years. No thanks.
That's like Severance, that is. He's just living a double life at that point. It's just got two going on.
It's incredible that he's the well-adjusted individual that he is, to be honest, because that would drive me stir crazy. Okay, so there we go. We have had all of the questions. We've had a surprise drop in from my daughter as well, which I wasn't expecting. Callie, how would you summarize the life and times and career of one Joseph Kheng?
Oh, it's really tame, right? Like I learned a lot about sales.
Pretty stress-free.
Yeah, maybe I should have picked finance. That's my takeaway.
Yeah,
you'd be good at it.
Oh, there we go. He's recruiting you now as well.
Do you want to join my finance podcast?
Yeah, well, the next bit is where we get you to plug anything you want. So here we go. Joe, so if people are interested in having a drink with you or catching a flight with you, because it seems like that's the only thing you do, where can people find you, follow you, and hear more about what you do?
Just connect with me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. If you want any information on the aforementioned structured notes, then give me a shout. I'll happily explain how they all work. And if you're a financial advisor that wants access to the best structured notes in the world, then you know where I am. Other than LinkedIn, don't really use any other social media, to be completely honest. That's pretty much that, and WhatsApp. And if you find my LinkedIn, you'll find my WhatsApp.
And
can
if
you work
do
with
connect
people
with Joe,
anywhere?
Not the US, basically.
Oh, darn.
Not the US, not Canada.
But
pretty much mainly offshore markets is the main thing. There's a lot of legislation that goes on in the US. You like to tax people for everything, so tend to avoid those areas.
Well, you're going to pay for all of the stuff that America are doing somehow. So, and with that, trying to sit on the fence politically.
I think if anyone thinks we're on the fence, they haven't been listening.
You're on the wrong podcast. I do have to say, before we go, Joe, I have to apologise because last week I said that this week's guest was going to be a good friend of mine, Patrick Malarkey. I completely forgot that you were coming on this podcast, so I apologise that the one person I forget who's going to be on the podcast is a relative, which makes me look like a fantastic brother.
I watched that episode as well. I must have turned off before the end, so that's a shame. I didn't see that mistake.
I'm glad you didn't, but now you know. And with that, we are closing out another Work Sucks podcast. So for now, goodbye. Everyone else say goodbye.